Hi, I'm Brett Jennings, and for the last 12 years, I've traveled the country to meet, mentor, and mastermind with some of the brightest and best minds both inside and outside of real estate. I've taken those ideas, brought them back to our team of experts, and sold hundreds of homes per year all across Silicon Valley, and this is how we do it. Hey there, Brett Jennings here with Real Estate Experts, and I wanted to reach out and share a little bit on our second episode of our Agent Success Series, kind of doing an interview really and a talk through of some of our rising stars that have joined us at Real Estate Experts and kind of what their journey has been, where did they come from, and you know, what's been their challenges along the way, and where are they headed. So with that, I'm super excited to share today and introduce Anthony or Tony Fery. Tony and I actually known each other before his career in real estate, and which he'll share a little bit about. But here's a guy who really came from outside the industry about maybe less than 3 years ago, and now you're on pace to do 36 transactions this year, building an amazing business where we've been able to leverage some of the lead generation and marketing we've done, as well as your sphere of influence, and now that business is really starting to explode. So let's if we could, Tony, let's talk a little bit about kind of what your journey's been. Where were you before real estate? What were you doing before, and what caused you to maybe think about making that leap? What did you see that gave you the certainty that you could, I forget how old you were at that time, but maybe you can share.
No, thanks, Brett. So kind of going back to my life prior to real estate, I had been managing inside sales teams within corporate America. I'd probably been doing that for about 3 years, and it was good. It was steady pay. It wasn't incremental. It wasn't growing. I was watching my friends take director and VP levels, and I looked at it and I was like, I'm in a rut. I've got to do something that's going to change things, given the things I aspire to do in life. And I sat there and I thought, all right, what are the two things that I really kind of shine on? One's my hustle, and I think I have a decent personality. So looking at those two things, I thought career in insurance or a career in real estate. Now my fear with insurance was I'm going to be the guy at the party. As soon as I go up to get a drink, they're going to turn and head for the hills because Tony's going to upsell me on life insurance and stuff. So going back to, we've known each other. I think our children came into school the same year.
It's about 6-7 years ago now.
Yeah. So, getting to know you as a person and getting to that point in my life back in 2015 as to making a career jump, looking at those two things, we started talking, right? And I was like, hey, tell me about life in real estate. And you brought me in and you interviewed me and kind of showed me what the processes you had with your team. Kind of how you made it a little bit more plug and play as far as here's the things that will lead you to success. I think what helped me in coming in that first year was I came from process. I was managing inside sales. I knew the metrics as far as, this many dials would get you this many meetings. So
I remember the conversation, in fact, when I could tell you were frustrated in your current career in tech, and we were having that conversation, and I was sharing some success that kind of one of the things that I've done best, and I won't just take claim for it myself, but our system and our process and our culture that we've created within Real Estate Experts, we've had that unique ability to take the guy or gal who, like yourself, is a really solid person, got some foundational sales skills and some good hustle, and really leverage them, take that person from, whether it was 3 to 5 transactions that they were doing or 3 to 10 transactions, and help that guy or gal in 1 year go to 20 transactions. So we'll talk about that journey, but I remember the phone call where we were, I was driving to the office and we were talking about, and you could hear it in your voice, you're like, man, it's just, I'm not really enjoying it. And I was sharing one of the successes. We had an agent who had just joined us from Intero. In the previous year, he had just closed 1 sale at Intero, and he did 5 in his first quarter. And I was sharing with you the numbers and what the production and income was like for all the agents, because everybody was making at least $250,000 a year. So, and I remember that in your voice, and you're like, dude, is that really possible? And I said, well, it is if you do one thing, and that is work. And you're like, well, like how much work? I'm like, you're going to need to work like 15 hours. And I think I remember what you were thinking in your when I said that, you were thinking 15 hours a week, a day.
A day.
Yeah, you were thinking 15 hours a day, and I'm like, no. Like if you put in if you're starting out and you're looking to build your business, you put in 15 hours a week of really focused work. And that's following up on leads, touching base with your sphere, hosting an open house, active business generation activities, that in an environment like where we have created here, where there's plenty of opportunity, like you're going to get your goals.
So I love that you remember that story, because that was exactly what it was. Like, you showed me the numbers as to what that most recent guy had done, and you said, he's a decent agent, and I think you could probably do this laying on your back.
Yeah.
Right. And so for me, I looked at it, and part of where I came from too, Brett, was I had put a ceiling on what I thought I was worth. Never having eclipsed that, but then you showing me the numbers and looking at, all right, if he did that in a quarter, if I times that by 4, it really came to the, where do I sign up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about your journey into real estate, because you didn't come in straight as an agent, and I made some recommendations there, because you did still need to get your license.
Yep.
And what that process was like for you, and compared to where you'd been, and then how did that help you when you first launched?
Yeah, so rewinding, October 2015 was when I made the decision to go from managing inside sales to real estate. And so the conversation we had was sit in the inside sales seats, make the phone calls, get the dialect down, study the scripts, set the meetings for the agents while you're studying for your test. And really that gave me the opportunity to, do this back end work of studying for the test, but really internalize and memorize the dialogues and scripts that would make me successful once I did have my license.
Yeah, just learning the language of real estate, right?
Yeah. And again, not coming from knowing anything about it outside of having bought 2 houses and liking the agent that I worked with on the second house. It was, okay, I'm coming in new. I know process. You've got process. Teach me what I need to know.
Yeah. Well, I remember one of the things as far as learning that language of real estate that was really helpful, because I remember pushing you a bit about, hey, let's try to hit, each week a certain number of people, 1 that you've called and 2 that you spoke to.
Yeah.
And I remember when I first got into the business, I actually spent my first year on a team, and it was a strategic decision for me, because I wanted to get as much experience as quickly as possible. And my belief was, I looked around at these offices and I saw the average solo agent on their own, is if they launch out on their own, they were probably starting out, if they were good, they were doing somewhere between 3 and 5 or 3 and 6 transactions. And I saw agents on teams doing 10 or 15 transactions. I was like, wow, I could probably in 1 year get 3 times the amount of experience. And I remember that was really helpful for you, because you were talking to 30 to 50 people about real estate, right, every week. And I think that really accelerated your success. So what happened when you launched? Because I think, when you launched, I think you launched as an agent officially like in May. So you had only like 6 months, but in that short 6 months, you did how many deals?
Yeah, so kind of going to it, I got licensed in February of 2016. I came out of the inside sales seats, and then, just kept up with the prospecting. Right now we flipped the switch. Now instead of feeding someone else's pipeline, I was feeding mine. I got my first deal in May, but I kept trusting the process, right? So I had that hiccup between getting my license in February, first deal popped in May. You had kind of warned me about the roller coaster that real estate can be, but if you trust the process of the dials and the scripts, then it can happen. So kind of going through May, having popped that first deal, going into June, July, I think that 1 month I put $6 million into contract.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know any different, right?
Yeah.
And so you looked at it, you're like, guys, I got this rookie on the team that just popped $6 million into contract, and to me, I didn't know any different, right?
Yeah,
you make the calls, you meet the meetings, you write the contracts, and you get in, and you're like, okay, it's working.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So you had this like shotgun out of the cannon, so to speak, once you first launched as an agent. Really, from the time you did your first deal, and then within a couple months, you had 6 transactions.
Yeah.
In less than 90 days. And so most agents dream of doing 6 transactions in a year.
Yeah.
But then something interesting happened, because I remember at the end of the year, you kind of hit a little bit of a flat spot. And this is something that's happened with a lot of agents that I've mentored and coached. And it's kind of unique in the sense that you put somebody in an environment with tons of opportunity, great systems and training, and they can create a huge amount of success very quickly.
Yeah.
And oftentimes something happens, and then they kind of like, it slows down for them. So you and I had some conversations about that. Kind of share with me what your experience was, and because I remember, I leaned on you a bit during that period. I'm like, dude, I know more is possible for you.
Yeah.
And I know, this is, so much of success is a mindset game. What are your thoughts, or what are your feelings about, the income that you've come from, and that. So maybe you could share a little bit about what that was like.
Yeah, so with that, yeah, we had a huge peak that summer of 2016. It plateaued and kind of tailed off the tail end of the year. And we had the conversations, right? And it came down to that mindset. I'd never made more than X amount in my life.
Yeah.
Right. So with that, I had created my own glass ceiling. And really was the mindset around that of you getting back to me and saying, what's holding you back? Just let go, unleash yourself to it. We've done some Tony Robbins stuff together. So we went to Unleash the Power Within. And the thing that will always stick with me, I mean, there's great stuff throughout it, but success leaves clues.
Yeah.
Right. And so with that, kind of going back to the conversations we had is, having a mentor like yourself that says, trust the process. Even when you get busy, when you got 6 deals in contract, keep prospecting. You can avoid the peaks and valleys of real estate. Going into 2017, so I think I had in that first year, again, not knowing anything about real estate and getting 6 transactions. 2017, I went 2x into production, so I did 11 in 2017. And still to that point, you're like, dude, like you could do more, right?
Yeah, so that was interesting because I was looking at your activity numbers, like, how many people you were talking to a week, how many meetings, and those things were there, but the success wasn't happening. And so, and I've seen this happen over and over again where, I coach and mentor with an agent, bring them in, and, maybe the most they've made in real estate or anything had been $100,000 or $120,000 a year.
Yeah.
And then in a very short period of time, they close 7 or 8 deals and they make $120,000 in, say, 3 months. And Tony Robbins talks about this phenomenon that we all have an unconscious idea or set point of what we really believe that we're worth. And although on our conscious mind we're like, hey, I want to make $1 million a year. If at the unconscious level, this what we call self-image hasn't really been cultivated or developed. That we start running into our own limitations and our own thinking. Yeah. So you and I did work on one thing called Future Self, right? This is a personal development exercise that I've taken and I use in our coaching model, and it's phenomenal because we don't get as human beings what we want, we get what we believe we deserve at an unconscious level. Yeah. And so this kind of helps, this framework that we've used in coaching kind of helps one create a future image of like who I want to be, both like personally and professionally and as a family person and physically and spiritually. So maybe you could share, because I know that was a transformational point for you, and we talk about kind of how you use that tool and what.
Yeah, so it was that December that you said, hey, Tony, do this future self, right? And it was just future pacing. What's your life look like in 3 years? And paint the picture. Like what's the ideal scenario for you across those different avenues of your life? So I sit down and I put some thought into it. And again, you're talking to a guy that, from a mindset perspective, had never made more than $100,000 a year. So for me to like reach beyond that and put pen to paper, it was a unique process to do, right? And so going through that, after I'd done that, Brett said to me, all right, laminate this thing. Put it in your shower, stare at this thing every day. And you do it, and it starts coming true. And it was crazy to see, because I think the biggest piece for me at least, was unlocking what I thought I was worth, right? And kind of pushing through that 100K salary as to what I was making before, doing those 6 transactions, probably bumping up into, the high 90s. Year 2, closing 11 transactions, eclipsing that. I think it was 140, 150. Going into last year, again, I did 2x the production. I went from 11 to 22 transactions.
Yeah. So you really are a perfect example of, somebody who has desire and some good skills and is a really great person that can plug in, kind of follow the process, and really double your business year over year. You went from 6 to 11, 6 in 6 months once you first launched, then 11 in year 2, then 23 transactions in year second full year.
Yep.
And now it looks like you're on pace for, I would say, like what you've got 9. We're right now, not even at the end of the first quarter, and you've got nine deals pending or closed, right?
Yeah, pending
and you've
or
got
closed.
how many few listings lined up? How many? What's
I've got 3 coming soon listings. I've got like 3 active buyers, and it was funny. I went back and I looked at my numbers from last year just to see where I paced, where I hit 9 last year. It wasn't until July of last year that I hit 9.
Yeah.
And I've already hit that by end of March.
Yeah.
Early April.
So you're on track for at least 36 transactions this year. It's going to be over $500,000 in gross commissions. You know, and really doing that thing, doubling year over year. Now, let's pivot for a second and talk about, because one of the challenges agents have, if depending on where you are in your production, if you've done more than 15 or 20 deals as a solo agent, you felt the effect that has on your personal life.
Yeah.
And I know that was a little bit of a struggle point for you and I as we coached and mentored together, where just really trying to finding not just life balance, because life is never perfectly balanced.
Yeah.
I think Gary Keller puts it best. He says, you're counterbalancing all the time, because you know your business is gonna get very busy at times, and then it's gonna be a little lighter, and it's really how do you kind of fluidly move in and out of real estate from being an amazing dad, because you have a family of 4 that you're super committed to. And I know that was a little bit of a struggle point. So maybe you could share just a little bit about that journey to success, because I think you, of anyone, exemplify like what's possible with having a kick-ass real estate business, right? Being super committed to your family. And then outside of that, like you've got some contributions that you make to, you know, the parish community and the church and things that you're committed to. And so you've been able to kind of literally juggle all of that quite well. So maybe talk a little bit about what your mindset was when that process started, and how it's different for you now. What do you believe differently?
For me, and again, this was the coaching you had given me, because I would just watch you on the fly, just like zing, 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 zing when we first came in, right? I'm like, I just, having come from that 9 to 5, right? Where Friday at 5, you shut it off, and maybe you check emails over the weekend, and you turn it back on Monday at 8 o'clock. Going from that to watching you zing, 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 I said, I want to be successful, but I don't know if I want to be that successful, right?
I don't know if I want that, right? Yeah.
But the key piece you gave me, Brett, was, and I think you're pretty good at it too, is you said, whatever you're doing, be 100% present in it. So yeah, for me, knowing that I've got 3 very active children, I want to be present at the things they do, and also still working weekends with buyer appointments, listing presentations, doing open houses, is for that block of time, you know, if I'm working that open house, that's what I'm doing for those 5 hours. But on the front end of that and on the back end of that, am I with family? And if I'm with my family, being present with them. So kind of unlocking that and realizing you can do all these things. You've just, I mean, it takes effort, don't get me wrong, but being able to be present in what you're doing. Just this past weekend, we had a group text thread going on back and forth about open house traffic and everything. And I didn't have an open house on Sunday. Got out, mowed my lawn. My children were playing in the front lawn. My wife was, you know, doing the front weeds. And I was sitting in a lawn chair, and I'm just watching these text threads go back and forth, you know, having the success I've had so far here in Q1. And I was having the perfect open house, right? I was present with my family. I said, there's no other place I'd want to be. So it is that happy balance between the two. But, you know, fostering both sides of it, really.
Yeah. No. I mean, Gary Keller is from Keller Williams, is a remarkable guy. Obviously, he built the largest real estate company in the world, and he didn't do that by accident. He did it because, one, he had a great business founded on great models and systems, great mindset. You know, one of his core philosophies is, you know, look, the purpose of life for all of us is to live an amazing life before we die. And the purpose of business is to fund your perfect life, right? And it's with real estate. One of the things I remember you and I talking about was like, real estate's a lifestyle, not a job, right? Because you have to be able to fluidly, on a Saturday morning, be able to go like show some buyers, and then, you know, then take the kids to soccer practice if you're assistant coaching, and then be coach, you know, and then in the afternoon you're doing an open house. So being able to, as a person and a real estate agent, being able to understand that you're so much more than the roles you play. But real estate can be an awesome vehicle to help do that.
And as I've done these incremental things, right? So basically, I call it year 1, doing 6, and then doing 11, and doing 22, and being on track for 36. What I found, Brett, is in trusting the processes that we have in place here as the team, doing the time blocking we talk about. I honestly don't know if I've worked any harder. I think I've just worked smarter in what I've done, right? So all these things are achievable, right? So if I rewind to that guy back in October of 2015, and I told him about the guy that I'd be here in 2019, I don't know if that guy would believe it. I really don't. I don't.
That's cool.
Well, it's just like you said, you fund the perfect life. Last year, I wanted to take the family on a first international trip. You're like, dude, book it. Don't wait for the money, just book it. Because when you got it in front of you, then you're working toward that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we went and did that. Went to the Cayman Islands last year. Children had a blast. But while I was there, I think I had 3 deals still closing. Right? It's funny when you go on vacation, stuff gets busy.
Yeah.
But no, it's been fantastic. I think this is a great seat for someone that is looking to grow their business exponentially, but to do it in a fashion to where they're not impacting their personal life in a negative way.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's one of the things that, and let's kind of shift and as we'll wrap this conversation up, but to talk a little bit about what the future looks like for you, because, you and I started our relationship when I was just running a real estate team at a franchise brokerage, and we've since launched our own brokerage with the support of a venture capital backed group called Side out of San Francisco. And they're really helping us basically take, what we've done inside the team to help grow a team from 20 million to 160 million in sales in a few short years, helping guys like you grow your income and production from 5 deals to be 36 deals this year.
Yeah.
And instead of just doing that for a small team of 5 people, we're actually going to do that for a brokerage.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm calling this as kind of a hybrid model. Really, it's not a brokerage because most brokerages don't actually drive business,
Right.
provide leads and things at the level that they do inside a team. And it's more than a team because teams are typically small and there's a lot more structure and things.
Yeah.
And so this kind of hybrid model, I'd like to call a team rich.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a cross between a team and a brokerage.
Yeah.
And so what do you see possible for you in the future here now that you're kind of going to be launching your own brand? And do you know if that's going to be Tony Fery Group or Tony Fery and Associates or just Tony Fery?
The beauty is the sky's the limit, right?
Yeah.
Just the potential for that. If life gets so busy or I want to grow this thing a lot bigger, I may take on a buyer's agent, right? Build out my transaction coordinator, kind of build a smaller team. I don't know if I want to be as big as an empire. It all depends upon, with those strokes, how big that is, what's the impact on the personal life.
Yeah.
Because again, like you mentioned, family is it's key to me.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing is there's a roadmap to make it and scale it as big as you want to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that we have the same support and infrastructure that you do inside the team to do that. So it's cool. I just feel so, kind of grateful and fortunate to have had the opportunity to have a hand in helping you kind of go to the next level. And that's kind of what my big purpose is.
If you feel grateful, Brett, how do you think I feel? I mean, honestly, it's changed my life, right? And it's made things, I don't even know how to put it in perspective. But life's become more rich. And not just from the dollar standpoint, but just in valuing the time I've got with family, right?
Nice.
And it's just soaking in those moments that I did this past Sunday, just realized I'm exactly where I need to be.
Cool.
Right? But at the same time thinking, all right, how do we grow this thing in the construct of the team of what we've got as to working smarter and building this thing?
Yeah. Continue to grow your income and build a better life.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yep.
Well, cool. So thanks for tuning in and joining us to hear about our next in our agent success series here with Tony Fery. And if you'd like more information on how you can personally double your business year over year, be sure to click on the resources on the right. If you're in your business and you're kind of trying to figure out what the next move is, how to go to the next level, you can grab time on the calendar for a 30-minute strategy session. Or register for our monthly mastermind. We'll be hosting those once a month. That's agents across all brokerages and levels of production to really help people understand these ideas and models and systems to kind of grow your business to the next level. And lastly, there is a link on the right for the Double Your Business webinar. So we'll actually unpack the exact systems and marketing strategies we've used to grow our business here from 10 to 165 million in sales. I'm not holding anything back there. It's our entire playbook. So dive in there, and until we talk again, it's Tony Fery and
Brett Jennings
saying, don't just be an agent, be the expert.